John Acosta has a fantastic podcast called News with a View. I listen to it anytime I see him post.
Welcome to News with a View, hosted by me, John A. Costa. Today is October 22nd, a Wednesday. This should be episode 149. Today's topic will be, again, the continuing shutdown and just the stumbles of the Democrats. They just can't get their act together. They can't figure out what's going on. They can't see what's actually happening around them. It's just now has become comic relief. The more the Democrats scream and yell, it's the Republicans, the deeper into the real cause of the problem created by the Democrats continues. There's just no holding back the truth on why it happened. And the fact that at a point in time, the Republicans were willing to discuss the Obamacare, the unaffordable health care. And the Republicans were willing and did discuss. And the Democrats said all or nothing. All their demands or nothing. Guess what happened? You got nothing. And I said in yesterday's show that it was my honest belief. And Trump confirmed that today. That he was very willing and still willing to discuss the situation with Senator Schumer. And Senator Schumer is the only one that can fix this. And but that offer is now off the board of saying that we'll do anything to settle. We'll discuss your issues and then settle the budget. Now it's you will agree to the budget as it stands, and then we're willing to talk about it going forward. And the Democrats are locked into a position they painted themselves into with the paint and brush handed to them by Trump. And you have Jeffries, who might be the most lame minority speaker for the Democrats in the House of Representatives that has come along in a very, very long time. Just terrible. Absolutely terrible. Today he got on, we're going to force a vote on the Epstein file. The Epstein. In the meantime, you have millions of workers sidelined. The audacity not to recognize that and think that is going to get them support. I think he gives a rat ass about the Democrats. Don't give a rat's ass about their supporters, in the sense of the average worker. This is all about the progressives. And the GOP is going to jump all over that. And this is, again, I keep asking, who is advising the DNC? Who thinks this is a good strategy for them? Who thinks that all this going on will end up working for them? I'm sorry, I'm untangling my headset, which got totally tangled in another set of wires, and it's annoying me, and I shall fix it in a second. I should have done this before, but I did not. So now my headsets are back and not dragging me down. The idea that all these little memes and all these little, things and jumping all over Trump saying, I want to be compensated from the Department of Justice because of the money, huge amount of money that it has cost to represent Donald Trump, the civilian, during the fake accusations against him. And someone threw out a number of $230 million. I would ask for a lot more than that. With the information that they have and all the shenanigans going on at that time under the Biden Department of Justice, yeah, I'd ask for a lot more money. And President Trump had said if he received anything, he would donate it to a charity, which I know if it was the Democrats doing that, it would have gone to the Hunter Biden charity. The other issues going on are really not, well, for the average United States citizen is not an issue. What's going on, in Gaza? Who really thought the ceasefire that either side would live up to their side of it? Yeah. You'd have to be a child to think that ceasefire would hold. And I don't care who it is. I don't care, what side we're talking about. It just wasn't going to hold. But for us, other than making headlines, I'm sorry, I'm this sniffles and stuff is a lot from the medication I'm on. It's not allergies. I've had it checked out, and it's not allergies. So I don't report on a lot of that because other than just giving our support to Israel, there's not much news in it, and we've supported Israel since day one, except with under the Obama and Biden administrations. So, yeah, so I don't report that or go on that unless it's really serious. I'm not saying that's not serious stuff. The same thing with the Ukraine and Russia. All on Biden's watch, and we know what it would take to end it, but, Trump just can't do that. He just can't do it. And that's the biggest scam going, the Ukraine. The most corrupt nation on earth. The other thing, of course, in the news is, what's going on with Argentina and, what's going on in the Caribbean with the attack on drug smugglers, and they're saying they're shrimp boats. Yeah, we know what's going on, and we know who's doing it, and it's a state-sponsored. Yeah, just like in Mexico, it's state-sponsored drug cartels. And any help that we get from Mexico going after the drug cartel will just be a larger cartel who are very willing to have their competition cartels wiped out. So, that's all. That's all a baloney by these governments. And, I think Trump has called them out, saying that, that this has to be the government behind a lot of this stuff, or it would never happen. Where are their coast guards? Where are their border people, stopping this stuff, before it happens? Fentanyl is still, an Asian thing. Comes from, China and from Asia. Very little fentanyl, is produced in South America or south of the border, other than maybe Mexico. But the South American countries really not into selling and the making of fentanyl. Some of it does go through their hands and then ends up in Europe and then ends up back here. It makes that funny circle around. So, stopping these boats, stopping the supply into this country of cocaine and illegal narcotics is priority one for our Border Patrol after stopping illegal immigration. It's it's tough to do when you have a nation addicted to drugs, and that's what it is. If there wasn't a market for them, there'd be no supply. So, we have a nation that is very sick, and you have state governments where all this stuff should be legal, all these drugs and everything, and anyone who didn't see this coming is an absolute liar. Is an absolute liar. So, and you could scream all you want, and legalizing marijuana and letting people sell it. The distributors of illegal marijuana sell it at a fraction of what legal marijuana would cost. And when people are stopped, they're not asked to show a receipt or anything. The whole idea that these states were going to make a lot of money from it, and I would say California has, because they tax the companies that produce it and then everyone else. But it is not the long-term, cash crop, because right across the border and homegrown, that, why pay premium money for it when you could pay 25% or 30% of what, it is to buy marijuana legally. We knew that for some people it's a great way to go because I don't get in trouble. I did everything legally, and I don't get jammed up. But the average person could care less, So, but if people didn't think that crime wouldn't go up and problems wouldn't happen from it, we're just fooling themselves. a lot of our crime is drug driven, either by addiction or by sales. Uh, yeah, and that's the honest truth. But I veered off the shutdown where I said this was going to be, but this is just a now general discussion on going on, and going on with the drug problem, and it's not a Democrat problem, and it's not Republicans or Democrat. It's a real people problem, and it has to be addressed. It has to be addressed. If we don't address it, it's just going to get worse. And the fentanyl overdosing. The drug addicts aren't, for the most part, going, "Give me fentanyl, give me fentanyl." The drugs are spiked, and people OD, and they die. It works that fast. And I don't think there's a family in America that hasn't been impacted in one sense from drug abuse, mental illness, and crime. And it's sad. Crime and mental illness can be easily dealt with. The addiction problem, not so much. Not so much. And I've always said that it was the government control. I mean, if they keep the people high all the time and dopey and just looking for their next score, they're not going to be worried about what the government's doing. They're just going to be worried about, do I get my drugs? So so much money in it, and it does create power. So let's see, the other. You have the Democrats still screaming, Epstein, 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 while people are going without paychecks. And it doesn't help, a person who isn't getting paid, but, will get paid when this whole thing is settled and they'll get their money and everything because they wanted to work, but the government was shut down. So they get paid. I'm fine with that. I get it. I just think the Democrats, again, and are just so far off the mark on what they need to do, and they don't want to listen to, the House of Representatives don't want to listen to a Schumer, from the Senate come in and go, "Hey, this is what we need to do, fellas. This is how, we can make this work." And you have such terrible, terrible Democrats out there, and some terrible, terrible Republicans out there too. This was a shutdown that need not happen, and I think in the end the Democrats are going to be jammed up pretty bad with it. I'm going to look to see. I was seeing what was going on with, you see what's going on with ICE and how, ICE is being threatened every day. And people go, well, they should be threatened because they're arresting people. And, I mean, you hear that justification, and there's a problem. There's a problem with their thinking. Mike Johnson says liberal violence is far more prevalent than, conservatives. Violence is violence. I don't care who's doing it. It's violence. And you see in Chicago, an immense show of force signals a sharp escalation in the White House handling of illegals. And you need the show of strength because you have people attacking them and stopping them from doing their jobs. And again, you can have protests and you can do all that. You can't interfere. You can't throw things at them. You can't block their cars. You can't jump in front of them as they're detaining people. You just can't do that. And that's what ratchets it up. And you might have 40 or 50 agents, and you have 200 people being paid to be there to cause a problem and to incite the mindless to violence. And you need then 200 soldiers with them. And you do need a show of force, and people will get hurt. And again, Democrats don't care. They don't care. You have them, moderates going, oh, well, we're moderates. We don't think that way. But they're not stopping their progressive people. They're not stopping them. So, while they're saying, yeah, we're not for this, they're actually doing it. And you have people that have TV programs that sit there and try to justify what's going on. And absolutely, they should be taken off the air. You could sit up there and go, I think that this is bad, and I think there's other ways you can enforce immigration. The first one would have been you stop them from coming across the border, and if they come across the border illegal, they're tossed right back to where they went, or where they came from, and that's it. But of course, you don't hear the liberals and these people on TV saying, we stopped that. That used to be the case. But we stopped that. And, they don't want to discuss of how these people got here and were able to come over. They don't want to discuss that. Where, the Obama administration and the Biden administration made up special classifications of people that nowhere was that allowed. Except for TPS. And that had limits on it. That had numbers. That had rules that you had to follow for that. And they were just tossed away. And now we're cleaning that up. And the Democrats, the Democrats knew it would almost be impossible to do anything about it. And they never expected a Trump second term to come in and do something about it. The Democrats would have kept them in their statuses and then found a way to make them automatic citizens and then opened up the borders and go, we welcome, see, we're the party that welcomed you. And it was about votes. It was about getting them onto the voters' roll. To get them to push for Democrats. And it wasn't even pushing for Democrats. Pushing for socialists and communists. And a lot of Democrats saw the handwriting on the wall and go, we're not going to say anything to stop it. So the Democrats, I blame them, all of them. I will paint them with the same brush. I'm talking about, when I say Democrats again, I say this all the time, I'm talking about the Democrats that are in political office. I'm not talking about my next door neighbors, but where I will say about my next door neighbors is you're electing these people. And so you have to be part of the problem. You have to be saying, I want crime. I want illegals here. I want my money to go to them before they go to a citizen. That's what you're saying. Because you're not telling them, hey, find an answer to this. That, make a law. And they won't do it. They won't do it. So you have, the idea of, there is no such thing of sanctuary cities, sanctuary towns. There is no basis for that. Absolutely no basis for that. You can have temporary protection status on an individual basis, but not on, we're just going to name this whole area, you come in, you sneak in, and you run over here and you put your foot across the town line into the city thing and you're protected. That does not exist. Only in the minds of Democrats. And they go, we can make laws. No. No, you can't make laws that take away from the power of the federal government. And they go, well, the 10th Amendment. And you're reading a line and you're not reading the whole amendment. So I think there are plenty of Americans that are saying enough with this nonsense. That elected Trump to fix what he said he was going to fix and do what he said he was going to do, and the Democrats are stopping it. Not because there's anything wrong with what he's doing, because it goes contrary to their agenda. And I really think in 2026, the handwriting's already on the wall. They're sunk. And when they lose 2026, they ain't coming back for a very, very long time. North Carolina just approved the redistricting. Going to give the House more seats. We know what's going on. And, where people are saying the most the Republicans can gain, without anything is like 4 or 5 seats maybe, and they're going to lose seats. They ain't going to lose seats. They're going to gain so much. And it might be a very, very, very long time before you see a Democrat that takes, a leadership position, because it just won't happen. You'll have minority leaders, and they'll just be made irrelevant by the majority. And I said this in many, many of my podcasts. I'm not a supporter of all red or all blue. That's not how things get done. And again, people go, it's a democracy. It's not a democracy. We're a republic. And I'm tired of hearing about, we're a nation built on democracy. We are not a nation built on democracy. We're a republic. We have some democratic processes, but we are not, and never were, a democracy. And I think, I can remember in fourth grade learning about, the government, and in sixth grade learning about the government, and in junior high school civics class and learning about the government and learning how the three branches of government work. And yeah, I mean, we didn't understand it all. We didn't have to, we just had to know what the Constitution basically was. The formation of the first 10 amendments to the Constitution. We had to know about the Civil War, and basically how our government functioned. But we weren't really told the difference between a republic and a democracy. And we learned that much later on in life. But I think that children need to be taught that. They have to be taught of our, you know, you have the progressives wanting to say everything we've done, has been terrible and horrible. And all it did was follow the pattern of the world at the time. Spain, England, Portugal was all about territory and taking over and establishing, trade routes. That's what it was about. America did not invent slavery. Slavery's been around probably since you had more than 12 people, in the world. Someone was forced to do something they didn't want to do. And the selling of slaves from Africa started in the 1400s. And they go, America was the driving force behind slavery. No, it was Spain. Spain. So, need you to do your history, bone up on your history, and really look to see where the problem was. By the time of the 1800s, slavery was already outlawed in a lot of those countries. England, Spain, the Dutch, Portugal. It was Dutch that did a lot of slave trading. Did a lot of the transport of slaves. But that's the way it worked. That's the way it worked. And, everyone talks, well, the Emancipation Act freed the no, it only freed the slaves in non-slave states. And really, it didn't do anything, where it didn't do anything in states that had slaves. Yeah. Because we didn't control those. Those were outlawed states. You didn't control them. And, people goes, that was, the emancipation. It was up there with No King's Day. But it was symbolic that the United States, of course, was against, the United States Union government was against slavery. Whereas the Confederate States argued it wasn't about slaves, it was about state rights. And to this day, the argument about state rights is still there. And the argument for the 10th Amendment was over the influence of the federal government being up this high and everything filtering down through the states. And states were nervous that a very powerful federal government could make state governments, the United States, really not united together for its defense, but everything else is states. So, got to do your history, read. It's an interesting read. Lots of books out there. Go research it yourself. I'm not going to drag you there and teach you that. But there's a lot of interesting reads out there. And knowledge. Not just hearing it from someone. Where someone saying something doesn't necessarily mean it's true. Someone writing something isn't necessarily the truth. But you can go back into history, look at how a constitution was, how an amendment was conceived, and then brought forward and made a law. And you saw the arguments just over the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, where they fought and fought and fought over it, and then said, "Hey, we have to have something," and they compromised. You read it; it's an interesting read. I'm been for the last month harping on the Democrats more than I really want to, but they have just presented themselves in such a case that I have no choice. Helen Keller could have seen what was going on. Yeah. The Democrats were all about family, values, freedom, the American worker. And that kind of disappeared. And now it's, Trump saying he's all for the American worker. He's all for values. And they go, well, this guy's been married, 14 times, and he did this, and he was accused and found guilty of this. Who is he the right to say, to have values? And you could make that point. I'm perfectly fine with anyone making that comparison. Because the words that you're saying are truthful. But the fact of the matter is that I think Donald Trump is totally sincere in him wanting to see a successful America. And addressing the problems that are in front of us, not so much putting the blame, but he's forced to put the blame on it when you have people that go, no, we're not going to change that. We're all for that. And he's like, how can you be all for that? You haven't found these people work. You haven't done anything. You haven't created jobs for him, for people, other than jobs inside the government. And that's wrong. Private industry. That's what drives the economy. And we kind of got away from that. I think that Donald Trump is absolutely a person who believes that the way to fix America is through private industry. And if you take a look at history, he's right. But people don't want to do that. They want an immediate fix. They want immediate money. They don't want to have to work for it. It's a certain entitlement. And a lot of us are to blame for that. A lot of us are to blame for that. All right, I'm keeping this down to about 40 minutes because I could go on, and I did not see what I was looking for going on in the news. You know, and you have, Morning Joe saying Maine Democrat candidate's Nazi tattoo controversy reveals, it's just nonsense stuff. Stop looking at people. Democrats block a bill to end the government shutdown for the 11th time. That's the one I was looking for. And here it is, Politico. Democrats keep failing for political fantasies. When will they learn? Exactly was my, if you go to yesterday's, Democrats never learn. They don't. They keep going to your stupid, failed playbook. Somehow, the third time is a charm. I don't get it. I don't get it. And then NBC and Americans blame Republicans for shutdown polling shows. Well, I'm sure some Americans do blame Republicans for the shutdown, but the majority know that damn well it's the Democrats. So, there's a lot going on, and the problem is the Democrat left, the left, and all the Democrats are leftist. Is there really violent rhetoric, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop, fellas. You can't be at these rallies, and I realize, emotions run high, and you can't say, hey, grab a gun and go start shooting people. And you can't have a Don Lemon, right? Let's see what Don Lemon had to say about ICE, right? Don Lemon. Oop. It'd be good if I hit the right key. And let's see if we can find it right by doing this one. Yeah, Don Lemon tells blacks and brown people, citizens, to carry guns in case ICE shows up. Don Lemon urges blacks and brown people to buy guns during illegal immigration crackdowns, and tells people to arm themselves against ICE. You know what? Number one, you can only carry a gun in this country if you're a citizen, number one, and not a felon, of course, and you don't have. There's a lot of red flags that stop people from carrying guns. No non-citizen should be carrying a gun. And Don Lemon is sitting there going, and he's going to say, well, no, if the Second Amendment says you can carry a gun, yeah, you can carry a gun. But to say, because you want them to use it against ICE showing up at your house, if, in immigration or the police, yeah, see, that's dangerous rhetoric. Now, I know Don Lemon has been accused of being a drunk, has been accused and alleged to have many gay affairs that have gotten out of hand. But now he's gone into a new territory, because this isn't alleged. actually said this. And, I mean, he should be investigated. And if you want to be a, they call them influencers, then you better be influencing in the ways of our laws. And again, protesting is absolutely allowed. Peaceful protesting, it's a wonderful thing. Shooting ICE agents, yeah, I don't think that's a good thing. What say you? You think that's a good thing? And this is the problem. Don Lemon is just part of the problem. Don Lemon is what happens when you have been allowed to say so many things with people not going, in good people, not going, hey, stop that. That's wrong. And the company doing something, in this case, to get him off the air, or, you know, if I was a media company, I would just say Don Lemon said some really outrageous statements, and that we don't condone what he said, and that's it. That's it. Let the people go find out what they said, what he said. And I understand, you know, you not advertise, you report it, and that is, they're not saying that the media is not being untruthful, but they shouldn't be giving this guy the light of day. Not the light of day. And, you know, it's going to be interesting. The Democrats are just so skewed off, you know, supporting Madami and you know, in New York, and you know, a communist, and judges who just let criminals out of jail. And you could say, look what Trump just, you know, let, you know, what's themselves out of jail, you know, for criminal acts, but he wasn't violent. Santos, or what is that? You know, and I mean, and the guy was found guilty, and there's no getting back. He had to allocute to what he did, and that's the end of that. But I'm sorry, I gotta look who that. I know he was from Long Island. Trump commutes. Santos, I was right. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes the brain is working on its cylinders correctly. Yeah, Bob, I hear you. Bob in New York. But this is what's going on. All right, I talked now for 50 minutes, and that's enough. There'll be no shows until like November 2nd. No podcasts. I will have little shorts going out pointing towards this episode, which will be, you know, Shutdown continues as Democrats stumble. So that's going to be in the name of this podcast video as of October 22nd, 2025. Thank you, anyone that's watching, anyone that watches, thank you. And I appreciate if you subscribe. And if you don't subscribe, I'd like a comment of where you're viewing this from, just the state or town or whatever. That's fine. I don't need to know, you know, a street address or anything like that. I'm just curious on the people that do watch me on YouTube, on Facebook, on Rumble. where are you guys located? Not that we're looking for you. Nothing like that. No, believe me, all these social medias knows exactly where we all are. But I'd be interested because I don't know. I can't see that type of information. But I would like to say, hey, I'm from New York. Or I saw you and I live in California. And hey, I saw, England. And, hey, you're a kook. Whatever. That's fine. But let me know. All right, everyone. You have a good one. As I always say, give to a charity if you can. If you don't feel comfortable with that, and I certainly understand people that do not feel comfortable with that, can you take some food and give it to a food bank? And then while you're there, you might ask them, is there anything else you need? Say a prayer. A prayer does work, regardless of what a Democrat tells you. And if you ever want to know why I say that, I'll tell you why. And like I said, I'll be back November 2nd, more than likely with a show. I might be able to do a show while I'm able to. Let me just put it that way. And we'll see. It might be with no editing in it. It just might be straight video going out and no captioning, none of my little graphics or little things that I put in there. It just might be raw, going out because I will not be able to do editing. All right, everyone. Take care. Thank you. As I fade to black.